All right, final team preview we got to hear today is the Minnesota Vikings, who were amazing last year with a 14-3 record. Unfortunately, that ended in the wild card round immediately to the Rams, but it was a fantastic year last year for the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold kind of came out of nowhere and was an outstanding quarterback for them with J.J. McCarthy going down with an injury. The defense had the fourth best EPA per play in the entire NFL last year too, so a terrific year for the Vikings. And yes, they finished in second place in the NFC North, but they still went 14-3. It was just that incredible of a division last year. We gave their draft a C- for the Vikings and gave their free agency an A+. So wasn't a great draft for the Vikings, but it was an outstanding free agency for Minnesota as well. What is the biggest strength for Minnesota, Dalton, in 2025?
I mean, part of the reason you wonder, okay, why was Sam Darnold so good last year, right? And why has Kevin O'Connell been able to produce with any quarterback that he's had over the last couple of seasons is that their supporting cast is just ridiculous, and it's only getting better. You talk about Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver in football. Jordan Addison, a really good number 2, although he'll be suspended the first 3 games of the year. T.J. Hawkinson's a really good tight end. Jalen Naylor is the third guy. Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason in the backfield, I think, is a really good pair. And then you look at what they've done. They already had one of the best tackle duos in football. It's a little bit like the Bears, where they overhauled their entire interior offensive line. First-round pick Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State, and then Ryan Kelly and Will Fries coming over both from the Colts at center at right guard. You look at the supporting cast, the environment that J.J. McCarthy is coming into, that Sam Darnold played with last year, that Kevin O'Connell has been building over the last couple of seasons. That's the biggest reason for hope, right? If there's going to be a young first-year starting quarterback coming in, he couldn't be incubated any better than he is with the coach, the play calling, and then the supporting cast that he has on the field. This offense, if McCarthy hits, could be fantastic.
Yeah, and you're hoping he hits, right? Because he's kind of an unproven quarterback right now. That's kind of the biggest question mark, I will say. It's not really a weakness for this team right now, but the biggest question mark is J.J. McCarthy's only played in 1 preseason game so far. Then obviously got hurt and missed all of his rookie year after that. So Kevin O'Connell really helped out Sam Darnold last year with a lot of play action passes last year. Should be the same in 2025, J.J. McCarthy. So I have faith in McCarthy as a former first-round pick for the Vikings. But there's always just the question mark, okay, can he hit the ground running in what is essentially his rookie year this year?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think something, we went over this earlier in the offseason with a film breakdown as well, is that O'Connell is going to use concepts and he's going to do things that McCarthy is familiar with from his time at Michigan, especially the play-action heavy schemes. And Sam Darnold, when you look at the difference between him play-action and non-play-action, he was one of the best play-action passers in the league last year. So I think it's going to be the same type of formula where, yes, this is an offense that finds ways to get guys open at a higher rate than anybody else. They're excellent when it comes to the first 15 plays and the first quarter and scoring in the first quarter, right? That helps the quarterback, those scripted plays. They have an excellent supporting cast. Everything as far as environmentally is there for McCarthy to succeed. Do I think he's going to come in and be one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football? I don't, but I do think he has every reason to come in and do his job and be solid. All he has to do is make the throws and run the system the way it should be run, because we've seen it not just from Kirk Cousins, but now from Sam Darnold, from Josh Dobbs. I mean, guys like Nick Mullins out there throwing for 350, 400 under Kevin O'Connell. He just has a feel for how to run this offense, and McCarthy just needs to go in there and do his job and play his part.
We have them as a top 10 receiving core and a top 10 offensive line in the NFL going into next year. So yeah, outstanding supporting cast, and a big reason why the Vikings have a top 10 receiving core is because they have Justin Jefferson, who is arguably the best receiver in the NFL right now. Over the last 5 years, so it was really his first 5 years in the NFL, 93.6 receiving grade, and he has a 2.64 WAR, which is the best among all receivers. 88 receiving grade last year was a career low for him. Usually an 88 is like one of the best in the NFL. That was a career low for Justin Jefferson. So he is outstanding. He's easily a top 2 or 3 receiver in the NFL. You can make a great argument he's number 1, 2, and yes, a brand new quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, but when you're throwing a number 18 out there, you're set up to succeed.
I mean, 5 years in and on his way to being one of the all-time greats, really, as long as it feels like even if they don't fully figure out this quarterback situation and he never plays with an elite quarterback, he is just unbelievably consistent. You mentioned it. When an 88 receiving grade through 5 years is the lowest one you have, I mean, you're on your way to just doing special things in your career. Justin Jefferson, look at JJ, if there's one bit of advice we have, when in doubt, throw it at number 18. He's going to find a way to get open and haul it in. I mean, he's just one of the most consistently elite players we have in the league.
Just for reference, an 88 receiving grade that he had last year was still 8th in the NFL. So still a top 10 receiver.
And
that was worse.
And that was the lowest he's had.
Yeah, that was by far his worst season, and he was still in a top 10 receiver easily in the NFL too. Dalton, who was the star defensive player for the Vikings?
You know, one of the more interesting set of transactions last year in free agency was Danielle Hunter going from Minnesota to Houston, and Jonathan Grenard going from Houston to Minnesota. And I would argue that Hunter was obviously more proven than Grenard was throughout his career, but Grenard comes over as that traditional 4-3 defensive end, and he was just spectacular last year. If you include the postseason, he had 84 pressures. The only two players that had more, including playoffs, was Jared Verse and Chris Jones on the inside. The third most pressures of any defensive lineman in the NFL, a 90.8 true pass rushing grade. So in obvious pass rushing situations, right? Brian Flores didn't have to blitz. He's a heavy blitzer, but he didn't have to blitz all the time because he had Grenard up front. That 90.8 true pass rush grade, the sixth best among edge defenders in the NFL. Very quietly, I think one of the best edge players in the league last year, and a great deal when you considering what they're paying him compared to what a lot of the top guys get now in that $35 to $40 million range. Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, don't forget Dallas Turner, their first-round pick last year. This is a dangerous edge group that if Brian Flores does any given day want to drop back in coverage and just let them pin their ears back, he can do that. He's got a lot of options, but it starts to me with Grenard and all of the pressure that he generates.
Yeah, and I can't wait to watch, obviously, him on that defensive line. And a guy you go against in practice a good amount is Donovan Jackson, the rookie to watch here, who is kind of a surprising pick in the fird round, considering everyone thought the Vikings offensive line was already really good, and they got another great player in Donovan Jackson there. He was a top. Donovan Jackson was the only top 100 pick they had in the NFL draft. So not a lot of picks they made in the NFL draft, but he's a very, very good player at Ohio State. So he played left tackle a little bit for Ohio State last year, even though he's mostly a guard in his career because of injuries last year. Josh Simmons made him play offensive tackle. And he was one of the biggest reasons why Ohio State won the national title last year, because he brought stability to that offensive line that really needed it. He only allowed 2 sacks all of last season, and those 2 were against Abdul Carter, number 3 overall pick, and what was Donovan Jackson's first game playing left tackle. So it was incredible to watch him kind of be that elite player at left tackle for them last year after being an elite left guard for them too. And he's probably going to play guard for the Vikings, but he has a tackle flexibility that if Darrisaw goes down with an injury or Brian O'Neill goes down with an injury too, he could step in and fill in the shoes at tackle too. But Donovan Jackson, big fan of his game, and he's a big reason why the Vikings have one of the best offensive lines in the league.
It's a great call too with Christian Darrisaw coming back from the knee injury. That's one of the biggest factors this year for their offense. I mean, he's one of the best left tackles in football. But if for any reason he was late coming back or if he aggravated something, you could reasonably move Jackson out there if you needed to. But no, I think, and they tried to trade out of that spot, that number 24 spot, because it was their only top 100 pick. But if you're not able to trade out of it, then get yourself a solid starter. I think, maybe we thought it was a little high for Jackson, but if you're going to get a bona fide starter, I think that's what we both believe Donovan Jackson is going to be. And I think, you fill out that last spot. They already got Will Fries and Ryan Kelly in free agency. You've got the tackle duo. Fill out that 5th spot in the offensive line. The interior had been a problem for Minnesota for several years. And my favorite, actually, you mentioned part of it there, my favorite Jackson stat from the last 2 years. He's given up 3 sacks the last 2 years, right? 2 of them were to Abdul Carter while he was playing left tackle. And the third one from 2023 was against Mason Graham.
Yeah, fair enough.
These are the types of players that you needed to win against Donovan Jackson while he was at Ohio State. So if nothing else, I mean, you drafted, I think, a very stable presence who's going to go in there and fit right in.
So the Vikings, their best bet of the year, according to Ben Lindsay on DraftKings, is to make the playoffs at only minus 110 right now. So a team that went 14-3 last year is minus 110 to just make the playoffs in 2025. So yeah, McCarthy is an unknown right now, but very talented roster, was a rising star at head coach, it feels like, and Kevin O'Connell is quickly becoming one of the best head coaches in the NFL. like I said, a 14-win season last year. They really helped out the trenches on both sides this year, too, in the offseason. I like that bet a lot for Minnesota. It's only minus 110 to make the playoffs after winning 14 games last year.
I mean, if you're in on that bet, let's make it simple, right? They won 14 games last year. Do we feel like they're one of the 7 most talented teams in the NFC? I would say so. The quarterback is the big question. And anytime quarterback's your big question, that's a thing. But last year, quarterback was their big question. They won 14 games with Sam Darnold. If you believe J.J. McCarthy can play something close, near what how Sam Darnold played last year and just do his job within this system and allow the rest of the playmakers to do what they do, then you believe the Vikings can make the playoffs. You don't even have to pick them to win the division. You talk about them being just one of the 7 best out of the 16 in the NFC. I mean, you just chalk it up right now. I think they're better than Dallas. I think they're better than New York. Right now, I'd still put them ahead of the Bears until the Bears prove something, right? Then you have Saints and Panthers. That's already 5. And then there's a couple of teams. I would take them over Seattle. You really get to... There's a lot of outcomes here where this could happen. All they have to do is be one of the 7 best there. Even if they don't win this division, I absolutely think they can do that as long as McCarthy does his job. He doesn't have to be a top 5 quarterback. He may not even need to be a top 10 quarterback. Darnold last year was somewhere between, let's say, the 10th and 13th best quarterback in the league. If McCarthy's even top 16 or 17, this team could make the playoffs.
So it ties right into the bottom line because their over-under is 9.5 right now. And I'll say right now, I'm going over because you look at what Kevin O'Connell's done in his 3 years as a Vikings head coach. Year 1, 13-4, won the NFC North. Year 2, they went 7-10, but Kirk Cousins missed 9 games that year with a torn Achilles. So obviously, Josh Dobbs playing quarterback for a lot of the games last year. It's understandable why they went 7-10 that year. But then this past year, 14-3, right? So in 2 of the 3 years, they've had 13 wins or more. So I think it's certainly feasible they're going to do that again in 2025, or at least win 10 or 11 games in 2025. I think over 9.5 is a bet I'm absolutely making.
I mean, it just goes to show you the depth that you have in this division when the team that won 5 games last year and is still projected to finish last has an over-under of 8.5, right? That's
9.5.
The Bears are 9.5?
No, the
Vikings now are at 9.5.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The Bears are 8.5.
Right,
yes,
but it just shows you that, I mean, that means the books think there's a legitimate chance that all 4 of these teams could finish with a winning record this year. So if that's the case, then yes, it's the best division in football. Again, it's the most wide open division. The Vikings, would it shock me at all if they were first? Absolutely not. Look at the amount of talent they have. Would it shock me at all in this division if they were in 4th place? Not at all, because you maybe them more than anybody, along maybe with the Bears, you question their quarterback situation, right? This division might be the most fun to watch in the entire league because you just don't know which way this is going. I think there's a road for all 4 teams to win it. It's going to be extremely competitive. The head-to-head matchups are going to be so much. I just can't wait for it to watch these 4 teams play football, especially if the Bears have made up that gap towards the other 3 teams. It's going to be ridiculous. But the Vikings, absolutely, as long as McCarthy doesn't completely falter this season in his first year as a starter, they should absolutely be in a playoff race and in the division race.
Yeah, if he's not, if he really struggles next year, then yeah, they could miss the playoffs and maybe go below 500. But I don't see that happening with the supporting cast they have there, and Kevin O'Connell's a play caller too. I think they'll go over 9.5 and win 10 or 11 games, maybe even more than that, and be once again one of the top teams in the NFC.
Here's a question. Here's a fun. Maybe Ben's got to search this for us. Is there a bet out there somewhere with odds that all 4 of these teams make the playoffs?
Ooh.
I would want to know what that if and what that looks like. Now, I know it would take some real mathematical stuff to happen there, obviously, especially in the East with both Philly and Washington, and out West with some of the teams they have out there. But is there? I wonder if there's a bet out there that has some sort of odds.
Hold on. Maybe I can get props in that real quick. Maybe I could do a parlay and see what the odds would be on that.
Oh, okay. You could build that. Okay, you could build it. That makes it all 4 teams to make the playoffs. I wonder what that would look like.
That'd be interesting. I think it's certainly possible. I think it'd be hard. It would be very hard considering that they all play each other and would all beat up on each other. But I do think that all 4 teams have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs next year. I think it's the best division in football right now. You can get basically all 4 for plus 1230 would be the odds.
Plus 1230. That's actually not.
That's not as much.
Not be as. That's. I don't think that's as long as I thought. Right, a little over 12 to 1. I don't think that's as high as I thought it would be.
No,
that's interesting. Just with the math that goes into that, then you're sitting there talking about Washington has to miss the playoffs. You're only getting one out west of let's say San Fran and Arizona miss out, Atlanta, whoever else. I mean, it would certainly take a lot of the math to start mathing there. But I was just curious on the odds. I'm like, because we have yet to have that in this format.
Yeah, never happened.
To have all four have it. You wonder if there is just a minuscule case for that to happen with the
So because I guess the Lions are minus 185, the Packers are minus 135, the Vikings are minus 110, the Bears are plus 160. So the worst team in the division is the Bears at plus 160, which is still like almost even odds.
That's insane. That's probably still maybe 9th or 10th in the NFC. I would guess. I mean, it just shows you again the potential of all four of these teams.
It's crazy.